hiding around in this little playhouse, are you?
What was that? Oh, I hope it's not a daddy. Daddy's freaked me out.
So the last episode I covered, Not Impressed, dealt with Mao Mao's subconscious need to impress people because of his large need to impress his father. In this episode, we continue on that journey. So let's get into Small. Also, look at my amino. It's a regular day in Pure Heart Valley, before you hear a ringing noise. But it's not the monster alarm. Mao Mao gets up and you can see in his demeanor that he's nervous and hiding things from his friends. You can tell by the way he specifically wants to get to the phone, which he'd blow dust off, to signify a lack of use. They play up the announcement with Mao Mao's vague responses, making it appear to mean that his father has passed, rather than what actually happened. He's coming for a visit. You'll notice in his vocabulary exactly how he feels about his son, and how Mao Mao feels about his father, especially when it comes to size. While the episode's title refers to the point of contention of Mao Mao and his father's perception of what makes a good hero, this is a big episode when it comes to the overall story of Mao Mao. And after watching episodes like Not Impressed, and the first episode, it's clear that Mao Mao has a lot of respect for his father, wanting to impress him once, if not many times over, like his older sisters, who have gone on to do great things while he got stuck in Pure Heart Valley, off of loyalty to the trouble that he's caused.
Father, I greet you. What are you doing, boy? You can't get any closer to the ground than you are.
Look at the contrast between the two, and the way Mao Mao allows his father to essentially belittle the things that are most important to him. He belittles his house, calling it a
playhouse.
He belittles his friends, introducing his name Shin Mao, but not giving them enough time to even finish one sentence. He belittles his sword, calling it a
glow stick.
He belittles the village that Mao Mao has sworn to protect, calling it miniature. He belittles his name, calling it wrong not once but twice, with the second time being right after he corrects him. But above all, he belittles his size. Why is this so important to Mao Mao? Because it's important to his father. And what's important to Shin, his father, is important to Mao Mao. All of these forms of disrespect, on top of throwing his intent on being pushed here by Mao Mao's mom, destroying his furniture, and the house, all happen within a minute. It's clear that Shin doesn't respect Mao Mao, and only came here out of pity. But what really sells this to me is how Mao Mao takes it. At this point in time, he takes it on the chin, refusing to tell his dad how he really feels about all the things that he perceives Mao Mao as.
Wait. Your dad's last name is Mao. So that means your first name is just Mao?
No, my first name is Mao Mao.
Dude, is your name Mao Mao Mao? I don't want to talk about it, okay?
The episode drives the point home by trying to impress Shin Mao with a tour of Pure Heart Valley. Unfortunately, their efforts are fruitless, as not only Shin Mao has seen, quote, better, but everything with them is size. Even showing something as large as a ruby Pure Heart leaves him unimpressed merely on the fact that he's seen bigger rubies. It doesn't help that Mao Mao protects a village full of the Care Bears that you saw in Channel Chasers. I mean, it's true. All this time, Mao Mao takes it on the chin, and cleverly, any anger or outburst that he has is not directed towards his dad, just around his dad. Such as when he yells to put the king down, it's not out of anger towards his father, but more frustration that Shin Mao has what this town considers royalty just in his grasp, making a mockery of it right in front of him. Side note, I do love the way King Snugglemane snores. Parker Simmons does a really incredible job voicing the king. The only thing that catches his attention is pirates, to which we see our lovely antagonists get beat up seemingly quite easily. Almost as if they should never be a problem despite them always putting up a sort of fight in other episodes.
Oh wow, I'm really proud of you. That's right, I'm proud of you, my daughter, Minori. Wow, we all 7 of them, huh?
Look at the way that Mao Mao's eyes light up. Like in Not Impressed, he just wants admiration from his father. And the biggest reason I wanted to cover this episode is mainly because if you watch the episodes between Not Impressed and this, most of them are arguably episodic, meaning they can ideally happen in any order, with the exception of episodes like Bao Bao's Revenge and debatably Breakup. Within these episodes, you really get to see that Mao Mao is competitive and works hard specifically for glory, but also the admiration of someone who honestly at this moment, he couldn't care less for him because of his size primarily. Disregard the fact that any sword that Shin Mao would wield would be largely impractical for Mao Mao considering it's not what you use but how you use it. Shin Mao would much rather Mao Mao inconvenience himself and use larger items much bigger than he'd need just for the perception of looking presentable to him. Forget the fact that Mao Mao defeats monsters much bigger than himself on a regular basis, it's the look that makes everything to Shin Mao. Biologically, Mao Mao can't control his size, and Shin Mao knows that, but still decides to treat Mao Mao this way, being embarrassed about everything that Mao Mao does, thinking that it should be grander. Simply put,
This guy's not even my dad. I'm still shattered by his disappointment.
transferring his aggression towards this force, Shin Mao can't help himself, comparing Mao Mao to his sisters again, and point blank saying that he had hoped that Mao Mao turned out like his sisters. Now this leads me to quite a bit of questions and observations, but before I get to those, I might as well show you guys the big reveal.
I think you're more worried that I'll embarrass you!
Now, son. This isn't what it looks like.
Now, I am not the most smart panda in the jungle, but allow me to make some general observations here. If Shin Mao was always in this armor and portrays himself to be larger than life because of the armor that he has, then wouldn't he know the answer to solve his problem? I'm not saying that Mao Mao should have armor like Shin Mao, like his father, but what I'm saying is, if Shin Mao was never that big to begin with, why not just instill in your son early on that having armor is what makes you big, rather than expecting him to grow to a size that Shin Mao never grew to in the first place? And what really throws a curveball in all this is, what are the sisters? Are they biologically big and thus the armor doesn't compensate for their tiny size? Because if the sisters aren't that big and they're also under the ruse of having really big armor, then Shin Mao's a jerk for handicapping his own son's confidence because he didn't do the same process to Mao Mao, thus giving his daughters a false sense of pride despite the fact that they're also just as small as Mao Mao and their father. And if Mao Mao's sisters are that big and don't need armor, then Shin Mao's a jerk for not actually empathizing with the fact that he's also small. For all I know at this point, his sisters could be actually that big, and the males in that family, small. And if so, this is some top tier man bashing, all equipped with said quote man being exactly what he calls out other people for. Fortunately for Shin Mao, Mao Mao doesn't have any harsh feelings towards his father, opting to take advantage of the situation here and fight the monster head on by himself. Badgerclop stops Adora Bat, telling her, finally got the pronoun right, that Mao Mao needs this. It's actually a really good fight scene. I harken back to the days where I saw only episode 1 and I remember being very concerned that the fight scenes would just be very detailed still images due to budget or preference, and I would have respected the route it went, but I still would have felt that that would have been a huge missed opportunity for stuff like this, because the way this is portrayed is just amazing. It's incredible. We also get to see Mao Mao's mother in a flashback as Shin Mao stares in awe, confusion, and curiosity. The monster gets some hits in, but the efforts are fruitless as Mao Mao slices the monster in half with ease. Rather than storming to his father for answers, his respect for his father is so great, he puts him back in the armor and actually puts himself down, downplaying his own grand achievements for his father.
I know you always say there's no shame in being small.
Mao Mao, my son, you are not small.
It's a small gesture and maybe this leads into something more, probably not. It's enough to make Mao Mao feel happy. He'd say earlier that when his dad isn't around, he feels like he's allowed to like himself, and it really hits home with me because you can tell a lot of that feeds into why he's not only competitive, but trying to live by a code. A small gesture for a big episode. Badgerclops and Adora Bat plays the role of the audience at the end. And that was small. It's a really good episode and gives us a great look into his family and Mao Mao's general perception. It has some good action and everyone played their role well. I don't hate or even dislike Shin Mao as he's supposed to be that way, and it worked really well. Looking back on Not Impressed, you can see why he worked so hard. And if you want to check out that review, click here. Special thanks to the supporters of October. And until next time, take care. Alpha out.